Hello everyone, and welcome back to the layout. I'm sure all of you have heard of the old phrase Christmas in July. Well, for us late 90s Conrail guys, it's now Christmas in May because the new ScaleTrains SD40-2s have arrived, and as you guys can see, I have all 6 of them here to check out today. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at them, take a look at the details, the basic operational stuff, all the little detail stuff as far as how they run and the weight and how many cars they might pull, all that fun jazz, and just take a quick look at them all, check them out. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as we take a look at the new SD40-2s from ScaleTrains.
All right, so here we can see our box from ScaleTrains as well as 2 of my cats there. They, of course, like to help open up any packages. I'm sure all you out there probably have some furry friends that enjoy opening things just as much as you do. So, we're going to go ahead and we're going to open up this box from ScaleTrains here. And I was kind of surprised. I figured they would add some more like packing material stuff in here, but they actually pretty much just had all 6 locomotives just right in there. There's our 6442. Our 6446, or 6450, a 6457, the 6465, and the 6475. So there's all 6 of them there. Let's head on over to the layout and really get this deal going. We'll unbox one and check it out.
Alright, so now we got all of our locomotives out of the shipping box. Let's go ahead and let's start off with the 6442. This is just the lowest of the ScaleTrain numbers one. So I'm going to go ahead and let's get this one out of the box here. Your typical ScaleTrains box. Any of you that have bought rivet counter locomotives in the past know what these are all about. Pretty nice design. I like it. Have our little book here, manual deal. Got all the, if you want to get a hold of them, stuff on the back. And, your basic things you want to know. Our favorite lubrication, of course. Your function mapping guide. All the fun stuff. There's your chart right there. Look at all that. But your typical manual here. And then that gets us down to our box here. Our little plastic cradle deal that ScaleTrains does, Athearn does with the Genesis stuff. I think Rapido even does this. Now everybody uses these. It's a pretty good design. I'm still partial to the Atlas ones that screw right in. But got our little plastic thingy that always is a pain in the rear end to put back in the box. And then we have our locomotive here. Now, the one thing that does drive me a little crazy on these ScaleTrains locomotives is how they use this deal here. I know it's probably really important to keep the trucks from moving around and stuff. I just wish there was a better way, because these always get stuck on there. they're always hard to put back on, and kind of ends up being a little bit of a pain in the rear end when you try to pull a locomotive out and you're trying to handle the clamshell deal here, and you have that sitting around. You can't sit the thing down because of that, so it just makes life a little bit challenging. But at the end of the day, I think I'd rather have to hassle with those than have a broken model. So take our little foam deals off for the handrails. And, well, here she is, folks. The newest run of SD40-2s. Everything looks pretty decent here right out of the box. Let me go ahead and get the other 5 of these out of the box, and I'll report back if I find anything loose floating around or anything along the way. Alright, so I'm happy to report that upon unboxing all the other locomotives, I did not find any loose parts or anything goofed up along the way, so very good to see that. I didn't have any steps missing or any loose plows, anything out of the ordinary, so I was very happy with that. So let's go ahead and let's start off with our 6442 here, taking kind of a little bit of a closer look at this here. As you guys can see, we have all of our little MU cables and hoses and receptacles. There's one up underneath there in the front. Ditch lights look fantastic on these. Definitely about what I like to see there. As you can see, we got all of our white painted grab irons. You got our class lights or marker lights depending on the unit. I think these all have the tricolor class lights because a lot of Conrail units still had those in the 90s. They just mainly used them as a marker light. And then for our 6442 here, we actually have a different horn. I'm not exactly sure what model horn that is. You guys down there in the comments could probably tell me by looking at it, but I'm not that in depth. I could see it in the prototype photo I'm looking at right now and comparing to that it is whatever horn that is there, but that's not an RS3L, whatever that normally is on the Conrail units. So, and you know, pretty cool to see that from ScaleTrains where they catch that little detail like that. But coming over here to the side, you know, we've got our sliding windows that, you know, open and close and do the whole deal there. We have our little, I think it's a flange lube box there, or it's some kind of a lubrication box that a lot of these units ended up with on Conrail over the years. And of course our, I call this the big quality logo. ScaleTrains calls it the small one, but I call it the big one because a lot of the units actually ended up with an even smaller one. This was actually for switchers, but
All right, so we're going to take a minute here real quick, and I just want to show this and explain the difference in the logo sizes so there's no confusion from anybody, just to, you know, actually be able to show it. In the top photo, we have the 6450, which was the only unit to get the Dash 8 sized quality logo, which is very, very big. You'll see that when we get to that unit here in our review video we're doing. In the middle is the 6498, and that was actually the proper size that Conrail ended up going with for road units for the most part. And that's what ScaleTrains is calling the small logo, but it's not really small. It's kind of the bigger one because the Dash 8 one only was used on Dash 8s, and the one SD40-2 is pictured. And then in the bottom, we have the 6433, which has the smallest of the logos, which is the switcher sized one. And that ended up on a number of SD40-2s, and hopefully ScaleTrains will do those in the future too. I really enjoy that small logo, but that's just a quick look at different sizes in these logos. And that was the thing with Conrail, is everything was always kind of all over the place. They always did everything different and at random. So let's get back to checking out this locomotive.
looking pretty good. ScaleTrains did that really cool thing where they painted the wheels. Kind of hard to make out. There's a good shot of that color right there. You guys can kind of see how it's that bright rusty color. That's what it actually looks like right there. Looks pretty sharp. Got a lot of little warning labels and such, and going off of my photo I'm looking at again, those all seem to match. And then one thing I noticed too here is we have our little plate here for builder's plate. And I noticed in the pictures that this disappeared sometime around 98, 99. So this would be more of like a 1997-ish era for this unit. Either way, pretty cool. I noticed on a few of the other ones that the builder's plate actually wasn't there, which is kind of neat because that's probably going to match what we're going to see in our photos. These also have like the little fan grate up here on the top with where we have this different style fan grate down here on the back end. It's kind of hard to see, but that was a Conrail thing that they did when they ordered them. Come around here to the back and we've got our rear plow, all the little MU hoses, air hoses, etc. Our Conrail quality on the back end, which matches our prototype photos as we imagine it would. Come over here to the engineer's side. Again, just, they got the size right for the logo as well as placement. It looks very good. And just again, just what's really cool is just how good their little printer is doing this printing on everything and all these labels. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to zoom in good enough here to really capture that, but you can almost read that emergency fuel shut off. I'm sure if you magnified it, it would probably do better than me and my dopey phone camera here. But either way, just these really came out nice. I'm very impressed with them. This is the first one here. We're going to take a look at two other ones just to show some of the variation. We're not going to look at all 6 of them because that would make for a very long video, but this is just the first one. These also have some really cool lighting stuff, which we'll get to here when we get over onto the layout and actually running them. Alright, so next up here on our tour day SD40-2s here, we have the 6450, and this is kind of an interesting unit because this was the first locomotive, I believe, outside of the Dash 8 CWs to actually get the quality logo on it. And when they did it, they used the giant logo that they used on the CWs, which kind of hard to, I show it pretty good here, but you guys can tell that's really oversized compared there. So this was the only one that ever ended up looking like that. And looking at my prototype photo, it also faded like those Dash 8 CWs did. But again, just the same kind of detail stuff here. We don't have our builder's plate on this one because it disappeared at some point earlier on in life. And if we look here, we have our little Juniata Shops repaint decal, which some of these had and some of them didn't. That was, it's a little detail that really I enjoy about ScaleTrains is just, like not all of these had them. The 6442 we just looked at did not have this, but this one does, and I think a few other ones do as well. Also on the back, it just has Conrail. It doesn't have Conrail quality like the 6442 did. So really neat to see just the little details that ScaleTrains caught with these that just kind of really takes them up to the next level, in my opinion. All of our warning labels and everything match the photos that I could find, at least. And just overall looks pretty good. The only thing, and this is going to be me nitpicking a little bit, but it's kind of one of those situations where there really isn't much they can do, but all my Conrail friends out there will know that these grab irons, it's just one of those things where there's probably the only way they can do this is just to paint the whole grab iron white. But on Conrail, only the center section of the grab iron was painted white. The ends were always still blue and right past that joint right there. So this middle section was the only part that was white. But what are you going to do? It's kind of one of those things where I don't think it's possible for them to do that without it really being a pain in the rear end. Another cool thing I like to see here is the wiper blades being painted blue. I might be in the oddball with that, but that was another oddball Conrail thing where these things would come out of the shop and the whole wiper blade would be painted. So really neat. But this is the 6450. Let's go ahead and let's get the 6475 out next here. All right, now here we have the 6475, another really neat unit here. Again, this one doesn't have the builder's plate. It doesn't have the Juniata Shops logo. And on the back, it doesn't have quality. And from the photos I could find, that all matches what the actual unit had. Another neat part of this also is that this one had the Q facing forward on the quality, similar to the 6450. And that was just, one really neat part about these units. This one also, if you look very close, it's labeled an SD40, not an SD40-2. And that's just little things that ScaleTrains picks up on and catches and puts on these units that really, really makes them cool. I'll go ahead and I'll just get a quick spinning around in a circle shot of the other three, so that way you guys can kind of see them and, the real light, and see what they look like here before we move on.
All right, so as we take a look at the other three locomotives here and just do the spin around, turn around on them here, there was a few things I missed when I recorded this. I was a little bit tired and it's been a bit of a rough week. I wanted to have this video out a few days ago, but nonetheless, the handrails on these all looked pretty good. I didn't have anything out of the ordinary on any of them other than the usual where they pop out of the side a little bit when you're trying to pull the little protector out when you pull them out of the box. Just the normal stuff. They all look pretty straight, nothing too warped or goofed up. I also want to note that the blue that these are is about what it looks like in the camera, which in my opinion is probably the best Conrail blue that anybody has out there right now. It's just a really vibrant blue. It looks great. Not too light, not too dark, just exactly what you wanted. And really, these look excellent. Very happy with how they look. Um, but other than that, just little variations between all of them, as you guys can kind of barely see here as we go through them, but just little things on each one of them make every single one of them different from another number that ScaleTrains did doing all 6 of these. So pretty cool to see that much variation there.
All right, so let's go ahead and let's see what the weight ends up being on these units, because I'm sure a few people are going to wonder how heavy they are. And that's pretty typical with ScaleTrains. They're pretty hefty. Got 18.35 here on the 6442. And just for the heck of it, let's go ahead and let's weigh the 6450 as well. 18.30. So right around 18.3 ounces. That's pretty hefty for a locomotive. That's going to pull a lot of cars. It's going to do pretty well on the layout, I'd say. All right, now we got the old standards gauge here. We're just going to take a quick look at our wheels here and see we're engaged there. We're engaged. We are engaged there. Engage again. Still engage. All right, well, good deal. Our first unit here, the 6442, all the wheels are engaged. I like to see that. So let me go ahead and I'll check the other 6 of them. And if I find anything odd, I'll be back to show you. All right, well, I'm happy to report that all of our wheels look good. Everything was engaged. Now let's go ahead and let's check out coupler height. I'm just going to check the first one. I'm not going to go through all of them, so it's going to be a lot of the same thing. But these have the ScaleTrains. It's some kind of something coupler. I think it's plastic. I don't know. They look pretty good. I've had 1 or 2 breaks, so I'm kind of on the fence about them. I like how they look, but as you can see here, it fits pretty good. And if you'll look down there at the bottom, it looks like the little hook deal coming off that KD is catching on the coupler a little bit. So if that kind of thing bothers you, just a heads up, your little KD trip pin's going to catch on their plow a little bit, but it don't matter much to me because I cut all those off. And again, as we can see, we're right on the money again. So shout out to the old ScaleTrains for getting their coupler height good. I like seeing that. So let me go ahead, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to program all these units to their road numbers, so that way I can run them a little bit, and we'll check out all the lighting functions and cool stuff here once I get that done. All right, so now it's time to have a little bit of fun with these new units here. Let's go ahead and let's check out some of our lighting and different functions here on these. F0 is going to turn on your headlight. So you guys can tell it's pretty good and bright. It's got a little bit of a whitish hue to it, maybe like, a little bit white. F5 does our class lights, which you guys can see coming on there. They're about as bright as they look in the camera. You see we got green, we had the white there at the start, and then of course our red. You know, all us Conrail guys got to have our marker lights, so it's nice to have that. And those do light up on the front and rear of the locomotive whenever you have them on, so that's nice. F6 is going to give us our ditch lights here. And they look pretty dang good. I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing there. They do look a hair more yellow than the headlight, but that could just be, that might just be the fact that the ditch lights are in a different kind of housing deal than what the headlight is. So that might give it a little bit of a different look to it. Because the headlights in that, like in the shell, it's in the blue up there where it's blue painted, and down there in the ditch lights, you got more of that silverish kind of paint deal going on. So of course we have F2's our horn, and our ditch lights flash, of course, with it. And it sounds pretty good for a horn. Bit on the loud side. I'm probably gonna have to turn that down a little bit. That's a little louder than what I'd like to hear. All right, so let's go ahead and let's fire this unit up with F8 here. So you guys can see the number boards come on when you do that, as well as our walkway light up here in the front also comes on. Looking pretty good, looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and see what it sounds like when we crank it up a little bit here. Well, that sounds pretty good. I'm liking what I'm hearing here. Let me go ahead and get this unit onto the main line so we could test how it runs here. Alright, so now that we've played around with our sound and made a little bit of noise, let's see what this unit kind of moves like here. Just kind of nice and easy through the speed steps here, just kind of get it rolling a little bit. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to hear that or not, but it's got a little bit of a motor hum to it, but not very much, very quiet. Very quiet, just as I expect of a ScaleTrains unit, nice and quiet and smooth. So let's go ahead and get a few shots of these units all running together, pulling a train, and then we'll head over to the workbench for one of my favorite parts, where I take the shell off of one of these and take a look at its guts. Alright, so now that we've got to see these units run a little bit, we are now over here at the workbench for what I'm sure, I'm probably not the only one that enjoys this, the part where we try to take it apart and see what the inside looks like. Because, you know, you always end up having to get into a locomotive for one thing or another, whether it be to lubricate or, in my situation, I like to add accessory lighting, etc. Do like step lights and ground lights. These units did not have ground lights. According to ScaleTrains, they didn't have them direct from EMD when they were built, so these did not get them on this production run, which if ScaleTrains says they didn't have them, I'm willing to believe it just because of how far they went with the lighting. Now, of course, I'm not going to have the right size screwdriver to get this screw out for the coupler pocket. Yep, that's about right. So let me find the right size screwdriver and come right on back. Alright, so I got the right size one here. You just need something with a finer point because these coupler screw heads are pretty tiny. So generally speaking, on these ScaleTrains units, you remove your coupler screws, your coupler pocket and coupler, and that generally gives you access to the inside. So let's see if that stayed the same with this run. I imagine it did. Hey, look at that. The little coupler box actually stayed together. I don't know if they glued it together or if it's just that tight of a fit, but I like that. Usually you go to fish these out of the end and those fall apart everywhere, and then you're standing there, well, you're sitting there cursing because the dang thing, you got to try and put it back together to put it back in the locomotive. So kind of nice to see that those are kind of holding together on their own. Oh, yep. I always just put my screw back in there. That way I know which way it goes and don't lose my screw. So now let's see, I'll do a little wiggling. All I'm doing is just grabbing this end and just kind of wiggling it a little bit. And oh, look at that. We're getting somewhere here. Boom, look at that, fellas. Look at that. Right off, clean off of there. Absolutely nothing in the way. I really like seeing that. That's nice. That's very, very nice. So in looking in here, it looks like our front ditch lights use some contact pads. So those are actual LEDs in there. You can't see them because, you know, it's kind of hard to get that stuff on camera, but looks like get the light over here a little bit there. Our marker lights are, well, our class lights are piped in from up here in the front. So is our headlight and number boards. And it looks like about the same jazz there on the back end. There we could see our walkway light right there. Just mount that right into the side. What else do we got over here? I think there's another walkway light somewhere. There's the one right up there in the front. And the one back in the back. Interesting to see how they retrofitted those. So this unit here has the standard issue, looks like same ScaleTrains board they've been using forever here. It's got the where they at, the keep alive capacitors are actually built in underneath the board itself, our V5 decoder, and then you have all your little pads for connecting wires to. And so since we're speaking of those boards, I actually have a spare one here that I removed out of a locomotive a long time ago. But when we look in here, these are very simple if you guys ever want to change or add any lights to kind of figure out what's going on here. You have your track on each side, left and right. You have your U plus right there. Is going to be anywhere that there's a plus sign. I believe the H is headlight, the N is number board, and their respective auxiliary connections. And I don't remember what the R, or wait, the L and the R are left and right for the ditch lights. Okay. And then you got your speaker connections. And there's just a lot. These are all the same, and it's really nice because then you have your white, red, and green. Those are for ditch lights. or excuse me, for the class lights. So if you wanted to use, if you had a locomotive that didn't have class lights, but you wanted to add other lighting functions, you could use one of those in whatever function it is. I believe it's 2, 7, and 8, if I'm not mistaken, but it's been a while since I've had one of these apart. But I really like the fact that every ScaleTrains unit, as far as the rivet counter series, all uses this board. So if you do want to upgrade something, it's very simple to kind of know what you're looking at, depending, no matter which model you have. Another thing to note is if you, say, bought a DCC ready model and you wanted to add sound and a speaker, some folks are going to want to know, where's the speaker at in this? It's actually inside this weight. And if you want to get into it, if my memory serves, this weight separates right along this seam here, and this whole top piece will lift off. So you pretty much have to kind of undo a bunch of stuff to get in there. But the speaker enclosure is actually in here. It's pretty well hidden, but it's part of what makes these locomotives have as much weight as they do and run as well as they do, is all that. So, with all that said, and I'm sure some of you guys are probably wondering, well, Steve, what do you think?
They're real and they're spectacular.
And well, guys, I'm beyond happy with these. These were everything I'd hoped they would be. As somebody that's wanted these quality units for a number of years now, so I'm very, very happy to see these. So again, guys, I want to thank everybody for watching. If any of you guys want to go out and get one of these, I recommend you do it soon, because like everything ScaleTrains does, generally they sell out quick. So make sure you go get your hands on one if you wanted one, or if you're crazy like me, I am, buy all 6 of them, because as I mentioned, just all the little differences in the decal placement and the small decals on all 6 of them, they're all different, and it's really, really cool to see a manufacturer take and follow that level of detail all the way through on a model. So as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.